Welcome to the future. Hello, beautiful people. On today's episode, we're going to be talking to Ran Segall. You may have seen his episode with us before, and if you were like me, you're thinking, oh my God, how does this guy make so much money? He's building somewhere close to $300,000 while working only 30 hours a week. He is living the dream. So I've asked him to come on the show and explain how he does this, how he works with clients, and how he's able to use Webflow. So you want to stick around. Erica, roll the titles. In case you don't know who Ran is, we're going to be talking a lot about Webflow today because that's his main tool of choice. But this is really not a technical conversation. It's really about how he's able to work with clients and use this as a tool to be able to do his work in a super hyper efficient way. All right, so if you don't know who Ran is, he is based out of Tel Aviv, Israel. He's a full stack designer. He's an entrepreneur among many other things. He's created things like Prospero, Muse, and the New School, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. He's also a YouTube creator, and his channel is called Flux. You definitely want to check that out and subscribe to that. We're fans of his. And his work has been featured in Forbes, Fast Company, Lifehacker, Taxi, and TechCrunch. Now, I was moving around, I was looking a little bit on his website, and you can see here this Prospero thing, and we talked about it in one of the episodes where he's building this tool to help, I guess, people who are figuring out how to do bids and proposals. He's built a web tool for this, and it's amazing. And the other thing is the New School. Funny story is, before I knew who Ran was, I was thinking about my life after the school, and I was looking for a new name, a new thing, not the school, like New School, and this URL is already taken. So we're going to talk to him about that. So Ran, welcome to the show. How you doing, man?
Hey, Chris. So good to be back on the show again and talk to you. A lot have happened since our last conversation. And yeah, I think a lot had to do with you. So it's great to be on the show again.
I hope good things are not bad things, right?
Yeah. Things are going in the right direction. Everything is like super awesome.
Okay, so let's just get right to it because everybody's probably leaning in the edge of their seats. Like, how does a guy work 30 hours a week and is able to make somewhere close to $300,000? How are you able to do that, man?
I'm trying to learn and master business right now as, to grow my business. And it gives me frameworks to really think and understand better about my business. So recently I've heard this sentence, which really made sense to me, that the difference between small business and big business is leverage. And there's all types of leverage. I know that you've talked about leveraging interns and there's a lot of ways to leverage, other people's time, other people's money. And for me personally, my biggest leverage is certain tools, and specifically Webflow, I think has been the most impactful tool because it allows me to actually do the work of multiple people in less time and charge for that. And so that has been like a tremendous leverage for me to create a lot of value for my clients and also for myself. I've been able to, still keep my business as a one-person business and not hire a great team, but get a lot of stuff done.
Okay, so I want to follow up with that. So I want to know more about how you optimize your workflow.
Okay, so I'm the type of person who you can say is lazy. So I'm trying to be more efficient because I hate doing stuff repeatedly over and over again. And so when I do something once, then I try for the next time to reuse that thing. So it might be, I don't know, if I do a creative presentation or a strategy presentation, I already built and worked really hard on creating, the template for that. So the next time I already have most of that set up. And the same you can do, with branding, with web design, with a lot of projects. So the next time you do that, it takes you significantly less time. And then you ask yourself, what do you do with the time that you've saved? So I personally really like to invest that saved time into learning new skills and optimizing the process even more. And so that's kind of a cycle into how you can do things better and better with less time. So it's kind of that's a circle that I try to do with all types of projects.
Mm-hmm. It sounds like you have a virtuous cycle going. So you try to optimize your workload so that you have more free time. And in your free time, you try to optimize it even more. So you're going to just squeeze every little bit out of it. So at some point, I have to imagine that you squeeze everything that you can. Have you reached that point?
So, you have to, there's also this sentence like, what brought you here won't get you there. So
right.
So I was talking about leverage and the leveraging tools, but I think I'm at the position right now where like I can't squeeze that lemon anymore. So I'm starting to also, following the business bootcamp, starting to hire freelancers and delegate a lot of the work. And that's kind of my next phase leverage. So that's kind of the next thing. This is like, those are the tools and methodologies that brought me where I am today, doing almost 300K per year alone. Now, the next step, the next goals, the next milestones, probably I'll have to change things up and, working with other people. And I don't know if growing the team, but definitely delegating a lot of the work is the next step. By the way, here my leverage is that I have a YouTube channel and a lot of people know me and a lot of people want to work with me. Some of them are even willing to work with me for free. So that's another leverage that can take the next step and allow me to maybe do things that other people can't do.
Now, how do you see scaling yourself beyond just you doing all the work and integrating it into the current structure that you have right now?
So some of it is delegating the work and focusing more on, lead generation and doing more strategy. The other part of that is, doing some educational content, which is right now I'm working on the Webflow Masterclass, which is teaching the whole process and everything that I've learned during the last 4 years of, using that tool and all the value that it gave me, and try to bring that back to the community. And obviously this will generate a new stream of income besides the freelance.
Okay. So if I'm an aspiring web designer, what can I take away from our conversation? Like, where do we guide this conversation so that they can get stuff from watching this episode?
I would love to share kind of like 3 things that, first of all, let me give you a little bit of context, because maybe a lot of people don't even know what Webflow is and like what it is. So like in short, like the story of my life, and I think a lot of people can relate to this, is I used to build a website. I used to do the design, then I had to hand it off to a developer, which was a super frustrating process, because they never understand you. You have to tell them, make this bigger, make this smaller, do the interactions like this. And there's a lot of communication and miscommunication. They never get you. And so that was kind of like a lot of time wasted, and end result was not, fulfilling my real vision. And tried many tools, whatever, Squarespace, used whatever, everything that came out, everything was a failure because everything was kind of template based. And then Webflow was really kind of like a game changer for me, because it really allowed me to really build and execute on my own ideas, custom ideas, and do literally everything. And the reason is that it's not just like a drag and drop tool. It's literally, you're actually coding, but you don't do that with writing code. You do that with like a nice slick UI. But you still have to learn how to think like a developer, which is, I think it's really interesting, because many designers, I feel, and I'm included, because you don't understand code, you don't really understand the format that you're designing for, in a sense. It's like you're a print designer, but you don't know the difference between process and digital, or process and Pantone
spot color.
Spot color. It's weird. You can't really know what you're able to do, how to get certain things done. And so when I discovered that, and literally I was able to do like in 1 hour, stuff that used to take me a week, that was like, oh my God, I can't believe. And then I doubled down on that, and that literally changed my business. And now I'm at a point where, I build sites in hours. So like, and I get paid for development as well, on top of my design fees. And I could end up doing like $1,000 per hour just because it's, it's fast. Yeah. So that's crazy. And so having that context, I want to share like 3 kind of insights that I have, 3 things that I think can be very valuable for people who are looking into this or might want to check this out for themselves.
Okay.
So maybe I can share my screen.
Yeah, go ahead.
So here's the first kind of tip. And it's how to recreate award-winning website effect in like 2 minutes. And this is based on, my first job was in an advertising agency like 10 years ago. And one of the clients was the distribution of Hollywood films. So we used to get the posters of the Hollywood films, and that was like 5 gigabytes of a PSD file. And my mind was just blown away opening that up and seeing how like people in Hollywood use Photoshop. There was like 400 layers and they would do like crazy shit with adjustment layers. And I would learn so much just looking at this, that this was like amazing way to learn how to do things. How the professionals work. Now, one of the most amazing thing about Webflow is that you can actually do this. And I want to show you like live. So here's this, Hiko is like an agency that I like from Chicago, and they're building website, and almost all of them are like winning awards here. And they're using Webflow to build their website. And the crazy thing is that you can see their website here. It's got like beautiful interactions and a lot of like cool stuff going on here. And because they've built this on Webflow, you can actually open this up in the Webflow editor and then see exactly how they did this. So this is kind of a hack, kind of like having access to the PSD files of the Hollywood studios, because you can really see how they did this. You can see here. So right now I'm inside the Webflow editor right now, and I can really see how they've created everything, how they styled everything, how they've, gave them styles, gave them interactions. I can really, really dig into how they did everything here. And there's, let me go back here. There's just an amazing showcase of websites, award-winning websites that you can just browse through. Let me see here. For example, which one was the, for example, this, the latest Epicurrence website.
Oh, wow, okay.
So it was built here on Webflow with amazing, interaction and subtle animation and all that type of thing. You can open that up in Webflow and see exactly how they did this. And you can learn so much, and you can just like literally get so many ideas, just browsing through this, checking out how they did the interactions, how they did the styling of this, and really, really, up your game, so fast by, standing on the shoulders of giants and taking, inspiration and getting ideas of how they've used the tool to do certain stuff so that you can do it as well, very efficiently. So that's kind of my first tip. Dig into the, in the website, open them up in Webflow and see how other people did it. You can get amazing stuff done.
So you're talking about being able to reverse engineer the sites that you admire. Exactly. And just using that almost as a textbook.
Okay, exactly. So you're in the motion design industry, imagining getting the actual in After Effects file of the clips that you love the most, and seeing exactly how they build the effects and all the layers and all their source files and everything. That's like, isn't that mind blowing for you?
That's magic, man.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so my next point is that process is actually more important than tools. And my point here is, before I went to design school, I was kind of a self-taught designer, and I learned all the software myself. I would watch tutorials, and I got really good at Photoshop and all that type of stuff. But I was so frustrated that, even though I'm a master of, the tool, I'm still not an amazing designer, and I'm still not, I can't do whatever the best logos or whatever. And it's not only after I went to design school that I understood that tools are good, but you have to know the process of using them and how to be really, efficient with them and what to do with them. Otherwise, it's, you're not going to be able to do that. And so I've built my own processes around Webflow. And one of them, for example, is that I have this kind of a style guide here that is kind of my starter file for everything. And it's actually synced up with a sketch file. So I have a sketch, and a Webflow template that correlates. The styles here are correlates. And so when I'm starting up a new design, I'll work with this style guide and change the font, change the color depending on the brand. And then when I'll go over to Webflow, I'll just make the same changes, and I'll have the template to begin with ready for me. So right now I can show you that, for example, I have here global color. So if my brand would be different, I can edit the color here, and all the other elements here would change their colors accordingly. And let's say that instead of this font, for example, I want to use a different font for this brand. Instead of Montserrat, it's going to be whatever, Impact. And now when I'm going out to set my homepage or whatever, let's say I'm building here a hero section. So it's hero section. It's going to be, 700 pixels wide. I'm going to fill it up. I already have my brand colors here, right? The colors, it's a type color, but I have the brand colors that I set before, and I can put in the heading, and all the styles are already ready made for me because, I have them in the style guide. So this actual process of creating a style guide and starting from this actually ends up saving me, hours. And as I said, because I can get a complete website done in 3 hours, that ends up, being worth a lot of money for me. So that's kind of one process that I've built to really make my process efficient.
I see. So one of your hot tips right now is to start with a style guide, define the typography, the color palette, and the styling so that before you start designing, it all conforms to it. And then if you make a change, it's global.
Yes, plus everything that you're going to do using that is already set up for you. So it's basically just dragging elements and components into the screen, and they're already styled, and you have a global place to control them. So if the client says, hey, we want to check out a different font, it's just bam, one change in one place and everything changes automatically. So that's super efficient.
Wow, good tip.
Yeah. So, and my tip number 3 is, how to make your clients or boss or developers fall in love with your website or with Webflow as a platform in general. And I think this also goes back to the understanding that, making a good logo or a good website is not going to sell itself. You're going to have to sell it. And, right now, I think Webflow is an amazing, amazing tool, but still a lot of clients they don't know it. So they might ask, wait, what's the difference between this and WordPress? Or, why do I need this? What's the pros? What's the cons? So you really have to understand and kind of have, again, a process for selling to them and showing them how this works and what's the benefit for this. The way I love to do this is kind of record a demo for them. So here, for example, this is a website and this is Webflow CMS. So that's actually the content editor. So for the client side, they're just, opening up the website and typing here and editing the website visually, right? Not like in an ugly form-based like WordPress. And, the CMS actually is really easy to use, and I actually show them this. So the way that I do this, I work with this Chrome plugin that's called Loom. I don't know if you know this, but it's kind of a screen recorder that records you and the screen, and it's really easy. You just click, record a video, then you send them the link. You don't have to upload, you don't have to edit, you don't have to do anything. So when I finish the design, I just do a record, show them how easy it is for them to edit it, how beautiful the CMS is, and I kind of teach them. It's part sales conversation, part educational, show them how to work with this. But this is really, really important to get them on board, to make sure that they love it, make sure that they really appreciate what you did for them, and they're sold on it. And developers, a lot of times, so in Webflow, you can actually export a code. So this is the same website in Webflow, and you can actually export the code here and get HTML, CSS, JavaScript. And because a lot of times, if there are developers, in-house developers, they'll be the most skeptic ones. No,
Right.
Generated code is not blah, blah, blah. It's
not cool.
Good, it's not clean. Yeah, it's not cool. But the truth is that once they see this, because as I told you, it's not just like a drag and drop tool. It's actually a development platform. So the code is great. It's what you do with it. And they're actually sold on it. So I've had a few clients whose developers were like, "Yeah, I'm not sure. Send me the website. I'm going to recreate the code myself and everything." I was like, "Okay, sure." Then on the next version or the next iteration, they're like, "Can you do that again with Webflow? Because it ended up saving me like 10 hours. I'm like, "Yeah, sure, I can do that." So they're ending up being sold to it as well. Because honestly, a lot of I'm not disrespecting developers. I love developers. I really appreciate their work. But a lot of front end development is just, execution. It's just building what the designer tells you to build. And they don't enjoy that much either. And so if you can do that yourself faster than you can communicate to them what you want, they love it at the end of the day. So those were my 3 tips for, how to make this process work for you.
Okay, I have a bunch of questions for you now. So you were talking about sharing some of this with your clients to get them over the fear and anxiety of using Webflow as their development platform, right? And you're saying the IT person, the technology person inside the company is usually the first or the worst critic. And I've been there before. I know exactly what you're talking about. The code's not going to be clean. It's going to have all this junk in it. And it's all about making sure that the code is super clean. So when you're working in Webflow and you deliver a site, is there another developer that has to get involved if it's just front-end work?
Basically, no. It really depends on the scale of the website and what you're trying to do. So if usually with a lot of small client, if it's just, a small firm, I don't know, a restaurant or this VC that I showed you, the VC web, they're just a team. They don't have in-house developers. They don't want to hassle, hosting and managing it. And so they don't, for them, it's seamless. There are no developers, but there are because I work with a lot of tech startups, sometimes they want to have certain functionality to it. They want to connect it to some kind of a back end or do other kind of more intricate stuff. And then we work in collaboration and they have to approve it because, they'll have to deal with it later on. And so, I work with them, but it's not always the process. It really depends on who the client is and what their situation.
Okay, so I'm still a little confused because I'm not that versed in how this stuff happens. I understand it from a design point of view. So if they have to have their own host and there's some exotic things that they want to do, how do you work with them? Do you give them the code or?
Yeah. So there are 2 things that you can do. You can export the code just like I showed you. Then you deliver it to them. That's your deliverable, just like design files. You send it to them. They can do whatever they want with it. The second option is you host the website with Webflow. Right. And then you have certain other functionality like the content management system that I just showed you. So there are pros and cons, and depending on what the client really needs, you decide if you want to host with Webflow and enjoy those benefits, or you just want to have the code hosted on your own server. It really depends on what the client needs.
What does it cost to host on Webflow?
So it depends. From a simple website can be, I don't know, like $15, $16 per month. Like bigger website can be $30 per month. It really depends. Sometimes freelancers have the feeling, when they're hosting their own websites or portfolio website, that it's a bit expensive because they're used to paying, I don't know, GoDaddy like $5 per month. But from my experience, and that's actually what I tell my clients, think about this like $200 per year or $300 per year. Like, what does that cost you if you have to hire a developer to do one change in your website because you want to add another page or you want to do the design? Now, when it's hosted on Webflow, I can do that myself, or you can do that yourself as a client. You don't need to work with developers, and the savings in time, expenses and stuff are usually bigger than that. And so specifically for me, for my clients, the price is not the issue. There are other issues like, maybe they want to host it on their own servers for privacy issues or whatever. But usually price is not the issue.
What about speed? Speed is sometimes an issue.
Yeah. So actually speed is, they are hosting on, it's actually an Amazon and hosting. So it's like super, I can always see on their Twitter that they're kind of comparing their performance against other hosting, and they're always saying that they are the best. So, from my experience, they have what's called Content Delivery Network, CDN, which makes images load super fast because there are servers all around the world. And so if you're just for example, me, if I would host, I'm specifically, my domains are hosted on 1&1, which I don't recommend, but never mind. So that's my hosting. It's only one server. So if I put my portfolio company over there, it's just going to load from one server that's randomly somewhere around the world. But if it's Webflow, it's just, it's spread around all of Amazon's servers around the world. And so it's going to load up super fast. They're going to, make my images responsive. So on mobile, it loads even faster. All sorts of functionality that you as an individual, you would never bother to do. Security, SSL, all that type of stuff, which, is just comes naturally. So that's why I personally host with them,
Do you know of Epicurrence, since that's kind of how we met in person? Do you know if Epicurrence is hosting using Webflow?
No, I don't think that, I'm not sure who designed Epicurrence website. So I'm not sure, I don't think it's hosted with Webflow. I just think somebody recreated the website with Webflow to show that everything that was done, because this is a really crazy website, he recreated it just to show that everything was possible to do with Webflow. So I'm not sure it's hosted. It was just like an exercise.
But I guess that's a testament to how intuitive or easy Webflow is, that somebody, just to prove a point, rebuilt the whole site using Webflow. That's crazy.
Yeah. I do that a lot, in my masterclass as well, just to show how easy it is. Like yesterday, actually for this web, at some point for this conversation, I thought I would show you how I recreate Apple's website, and it took me about 20 minutes to recreate their homepage, one-on-one. So, it's really easy to do, once you're versed in the software.
Okay, so I have a couple other questions for you. How long did it take you to achieve this level of control or mastery using Webflow? Because you mentioned you experimented with other hosting platforms and they weren't cutting it for you.
Yeah, so as I said, I'm working with it. I think I was in the first early beta group, I think 4 years now. And I've been working on it daily for a big chunk of time. So I have a lot of mileage on it.
You do. So how long would it take for somebody like me to learn or to know what it is that you know, if I were doing it on my own?
So again, first of all, Webflow themselves have it's called the Webflow University. They put up a lot of kind of tutorials. And so they have a lot of free content over there. The thing with it, which kind of why I've created my own course, is that it's very, very technical. It shows you how to operate the software, but it doesn't give you context, real world context. Also, it doesn't show you how to, go around some limitations and real world scenario, because obviously it's the company that created the software did this, and they don't want to talk about maybe if something is not perfect, how to deal with that. And so the reason that I created the masterclass is to really show you how to take all of my learnings for 4 years to get to to understand the principles of how to do this correctly, whether it's client work, whether it's an agency work. I'm actually, I feel like a little bit uncomfortable saying this, but I have a friend who runs one of the best design agencies in Israel. And he had 2 in-house developers, and he was telling me, dude, you know what? I can't afford it. I'm not making money off web design because developers, they're high tech salaries. Right. And I'm just breaking even. I only do websites because my clients expect me, I'm doing branding for them. And if I can't provide the website, it's not like I'm not professional, but I'm not making money on it. So I told him, dude, should definitely check out Webflow. And he sent, I did like few private workshops here in Israel. And he sent few of his designers, and then later on, got rid of the developers, and now they're like cranking up, and it actually came back to become a profit center. Like designing website is now a profit center in his agency, instead of just, breaking even on it to not let down clients. Mm-hmm. So even for agency, I'm doing it for client work, but I also think it's a really powerful tool for agencies.
Mm-hmm. So I have more questions for you. You were talking about how you're able to make $1,000 an hour, and that is a god awful amount of money per hour. That's more than attorneys make. And so I want to talk about this a little bit. Sure. Right. So let's clarify for everybody that's watching. The way that you're able to do that, I believe, is you're doing project-based bidding, where you're going to say it's going to cost this much, right?
Yeah, and I'll tell you something else. This is the easiest thing to do, because the value of development is, there's a market for it. So you can actually tell the client themselves, you want this developed? Let's get a proposal from a developer. Who's the developer you want to work with? They'll tell you it's $3,000. So you know what? I'll do it for $3,000. Do you know that I'm doing it in 3 hours? All right. Right. Why do you care? They paid me $3,000 and they say, oh my God, I can't believe you did it so fast.
Yeah. Fantastic. So that's an interesting strategy there that you're using. So you're saying, go ahead and get a quote from a developer, and then we will compare, right?
Yeah. A lot of times they do it. So I don't even have to price it. I just have to say, you know what? Pay this to me and you'll get it faster. You only have to work with a single point of contact, right? It's easier for everybody. Yeah. We don't even talk about, how long it takes or whatever.
All right. So if designers and creatives are watching this, they're going to get really excited. And if you're a developer watching this, you may get less excited, because that might have been a profit center for them, even though it's not sexy work converting designs, right?
But I want to say, I know it's not very, I get a lot of feedback on my Instagram as well from developers who also switch to Webflow, because you can't beat, like, something that I do with 3 clicks on Webflow sometimes takes 20 lines to write manually. Even if you type really, really fast, it's still going to take you like 2-3 minutes to do something that I did with 3 clicks. So multiply that with the complexity of a website, you end up working 10 times faster. If you work, it's just the better interface to do the same job. So some developers are like, they love writing code. That's why they got into it. And so you can't convince them. But other developers who are like more focused on getting the job done and doing it efficiently might say, okay, it's not a faster horse, it's a car. So let's use the car.
Right. Okay, I like that. I like that you're able to kind of bring developers into this conversation too. So if you're a developer, it doesn't mean you get cut out of it. You can actually use it if you want to. And if there are designers out there who don't want to learn Webflow for whatever reason and continue to do things, whatever program they used to use, then the developer can take that and just recreate that. Like you said, you can recreate the Apple site in 20 minutes. You can recreate the Epicurrent site in 5, right? So it's a tool. So it depends. And I love that, because that's been your message all along. It's not about the tools. It's about your process. It's about efficiency and trying your best to earn as much money as you can while working the least amount of time in the most hyper efficient way.
But I will. You know what? I have a tiny bit of I don't know what, not feeling so good when I'm framing it like this, because I think, and what was right for me, and I think it's right for a lot of designers, they're not solely motivated on what should I do to get more money. I think that what's really frustrating them is that they are wasting so much time with the communication, ended up with not perfect results. And so my way of saying, okay, if, it would take me 5 hours, over 2 weeks to communicate back and forth with QA and everything. So anyway, I'm down 5 hours. So instead of that frustrating, experience, use the 5 hours, do it myself. It'll be faster. I'm independent, which everybody loves to be independent and do it themselves. And actually, okay, and the result is better, then this is, I think, core value. Like an added benefit is that you also get paid for it. But I don't think, like, at least for me, when I got into it, it wasn't like, how can I make more money? It was like, how do I build better website without a really frustrating experience? And so that's why I was motivated to learn this and master this. End result being like, oh my God, I'm super, super efficient now.
Right. So the byproduct of you being more efficient, more independent, more in control, and being more satisfied with the work is that, oh, by the way, you actually do make more money and you're really efficient in how you spend your time. Okay, I like the way you framed that. Thanks for clarifying that. Okay. All right. Okay, I probably have a couple more questions for you, but you mentioned now that you are doing, did you call that a masterclass or some kind of course that you're teaching? Okay, I love that. Webflow Masterclass taught by a master. So I love that. And somebody who's actually working with real clients, sharing with you how you do what you do and how you work with clients. And so there's context there. So it's not about learning buttons and being super technical, even though I'm sure there's parts to it, but it's really about helping you to translate what's up here in your mind into something that somebody can see on the screen, and then managing and working with the client.
Right, and the process is a bit wider than the process in the software, right? There's a process before, which is selling the client on the idea that you're going to build it with Webflow, designing in whatever software you're designing, Sketch, XD, whatever, then doing the development themselves, then doing the handoff and make sure that they're happy with it and they get it and they love it, and then sustaining it. Because a lot of people, I personally don't do this, but a lot of people, they actually take a retainer for kind of maintaining the website for their client. So they're not telling the client, the hosting costs $15 per month. They're telling them for $150 per month, I'll host and maintain your website, and if there's any issues, I'll help you and I'll do updates, whatever. And they get a recurring fee from a customer, and they'll pay the the hosting themselves. Actually, there is a feature in Webflow that allows you to do client billing, so you can set up your own price. You can say $150, and then they'll see a form to put in the credit card, and you'll get the money from Webflow Stripe to you.
Mm-hmm.
So they don't even know how much the hosting costs. That's like opaque.
Right. Okay, that's fantastic. And you're saying like some people do that. It seems like you have an opinion that maybe you shouldn't do it, or how do you feel about that?
No, it kind of relates to how I'm transitioning from from my freelance. I really want to focus on high level work and strategic work and those types of engagements. I feel like for me I used to do that in the past, but to keep on clients and have to answer for those small little details, can you update this, can you update that? It's just not profitable for me. It creates a lot of context switching. I don't want to have a lot of small retainers. I want to focus on 3 big projects, clients, be focused, deliver high value, and I don't want to do small fixes. Building up a website, which is, by the way, the building is, again, it's a part of a larger process, which is strategy for the website. What should be on the website? What's the content? What's everything? Then design, then develop. So it's a huge project. Development is just, the end part of it. So I love the whole project. I don't like to maintain stuff. It bores me in a way.
Right.
But that's just my personal opinion. For a lot of people, it ended up, if they have 10 clients charging 150, so that's, 1,500 recurring revenue. Why not? Not a lot of hustle. Might be a good.
Sure. I want to talk about that a little bit too. I'm going to make a little note here to talk about that. So I think I've written the outline potentially to your course. So you tell me now what it consists of, right? So I hear from you saying, there's an onboarding process. So before a project can begin, you have to be able to get your client familiar and comfortable with how you're going to build this. And you obviously have touched upon a couple of things that you can say. Maybe it also is that there's some aspects about how to talk about money and bidding and overcoming certain objections. But you didn't really talk too much about the strategy part. Will you be teaching people like, yeah, I onboarded the client and I know how to do sketch and then develop. Are you going to talk about that in your class, or is that outside of the?
No, it's, web design in general, I think it's a bigger scope. I might get to that at some point, but right now it's focused on, you have a design, you want to implement it in web. You have to sell your client on the idea that it's going to be with Webflow, but we're not talking about content strategy, copywriting,
Right.
wireframing, all that stuff. That's a little bit outside of the scope of this.
Okay, so you'll talk about onboarding. They have to figure out the content strategy, the wireframing. They'll have to design it, and then this will take over from that point, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so then now
the assumption is you're already working in web. The assumption is you're already building websites.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's your own portfolio, whether it's client work, whether you're working in an agency or you're working in a startup, and you have to build landing pages, you have to build your marketing website, and you're frustrated with the way things are working, right? You have to, again, as I explained, the whole process is kind of broken. So you want more independence, you want higher quality design, you want to own more of the process. So that's, I would say, kind of the ideal persona who is looking to, control more of the process.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So that's a good assumption. I think there's a need for the rest of this. So maybe there's a class 2, 3, 4, whatever it is, so that you can cover all the aspects, because it could get really deep. You can do one just for strategy and then one just for design. Okay. And then you get into the Webflow part. I assume then you would talk a little bit about the Webflow CMS and how you can work with clients. And that is a pain point, because we've had that before, because we'll have the site developed, and you're right, it's a bunch of databases or forms they got to fill out, and then we have to sit there manually cut and paste and put them back in. It's painful for us, it's painful for the client, and then they realize they wrote 10 paragraphs of copy for a place that is only suited for one paragraph, and so they're using too much work in areas that they don't need to, so it's inefficient, right? And lastly, you talked a little bit about this, which I'm just trying to recap and kind of follow up on this, is that for some people, since Webflow is a hosting service as well, and it's fairly affordable to me, $15 a month is nothing, considering some of the software subscription services that you subscribe to that you get so little value out of already. And that potentially can be a business. And when you're saying for you, it's not really worth the hassle, you're switching gears, switching tasks, it's not efficient use of your time and your brain. But you said for some people that could be a good profit center. And I would just suggest to people, you can be upfront. You can say, you can host it. It's, $15, $20, $30 a month. But if you want me to manage that in order for it to be worth my time, it's got to be $2,000 a month. It's got to be $1,500 a month, like real money, so that I can dedicate a resource to that, even though you may or may not need anything done in that period of time. But we'll make sure.
In this context, I think it is part of a lot of bigger retainers where I do other stuff, and this is kind of just built into that. Yeah.
So that might make sense, because I'm sure there's people watching from developing countries where they might make $4,000 on an annual basis. So some of this money can actually really help them in their life and their path and career, and possibly transform them. And if the money is there, it will be worth your while to bring on a junior, maybe to help out, but not at $150. That doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah. By the way, I didn't mention this, but they actually have an expert program where on their website, if you are looking for somebody to help you with, there's a list of kind of vetted Webflow experts that you can send. And I have a really great friend based here in Israel who's amazing designer. So he's on that program. I'm not even on that program because I have too much work, so I can't accept more work. But he's there. He's getting leads every day. Every day he's getting leads from, just from this program. And some of them are clients like, up of $5,000 just for development. So this, by the way, is a really great way for lead generation. Not sure like how easy it is to get in the program. You have to be proficient and show and demonstrate that you're good. But that can be for somebody who needs leads, that can be amazing.
Yeah. So it seems to me like the people behind the software have really thought this thing through, that they're going to make really clean code. They're going to make it friendly with the UI that designers and creatives can use. And so they're making everybody happy in that. They're going to do the hosting, and they're going to be able to set up separate accounts so that you can build directly. And they built up a community where it's almost like a careers board or a job board, and they're going to help you. So there's so many, it seems like you're singing the virtues of Webflow quite strongly now. I just want to ask you, are you employed by Webflow, by the way?
I was gonna say that my YouTube channel is sponsored by them, but honestly, the way that it ended up was that I was just talking about them so passionately, just organically.
Yeah.
And then when we actually met, one of the co-founders was here in Israel, and we kind of became friends. And then I was like, I'm thinking about getting a sponsor for my YouTube. I'm talking about you all the time as is, and I think this would be just like the best fit, because it's just, it's authentic. It's just part of my life as it is.
Yeah.
And they were like, yeah, sure, let's do this. And, sometimes there'll be whole weeks where I don't even mention this because I might not have a program or a project that I'm working with. But when I'll do it, I'll show how I'm using it and the value. And, it's a win-win for everybody. But they're really great guys. I love them.
Great. Where are they based out of?
In San Francisco.
Okay. All right. Cool. All right. Now that you have me like really leaning in here, so I have to ask you a couple of questions. Okay. You converted me, right? I want to learn how to do this. I want to do this myself.
By the way, I can ask you what's your process in Blind, and I can definitely show you how to create a profit center over there. If I come in and teach your designers how to do this, you will see a significant improvement, in profitability. I can bet you that.
Okay, so you guys stay tuned for that episode. We'll see what happens there. I would love to see that happen, really, because I'm not really involved in the trenches. I'm kind of just seeing it from my point of view. Okay, so
never mind. You'll see it on the balance sheet.
Okay, so how much is your class? When does it start? How do I get involved? Can you give us some information?
Yeah, okay, so it's going to be, by the time that this video airs, it's probably live. So it is $497. I'm probably going to do payment plans. I'm not sure at what point, but I will do something like that.
Yep.
And it includes all the videos, there's like 8 modules. We've covered some of them, but it's basic stuff for people who never saw the software and needs kind of a basic understanding of how this works, how the web works in general. Then there's like moving into some more advanced stuff, showing my process, like the exact steps, the rebuilds of how I build website in 3 hours for like real website for real clients, how I do delivery, how I handle the CMS, how I do the sales, what else? How I do advanced stuff like interaction and other stuff. And all kinds of like extreme use cases, such as actually building products. So I've designed Prospero, my own web-based product. I've designed the UI and everything in Webflow as well. So there are other kind of use cases. And on top of that, while I'm launching it, I'm putting up some extra content bonuses, and some of that will be kind of a private Facebook group, which I'm helping out people personally, and I'm doing coaching, and I'm doing kind of live Q&As and helping people troubleshoot where they can't succeed stuff. So I'm personally engaged in making sure that they're onboarded and they're successful and they can make this work for them, because obviously that's the end result that I'm looking to get. Also, I will be sharing all of my kind of like sales script, all of my templates. Some of them I've shared with you here, all of kind of the done for you checklist, everything that I use. So this is kind of a bonus for the people who are signing up during the launch week. So you should definitely check this out. There's a lot of people who this already made a significant impact on their business. People who signed up, months ago to the early access. Also people that kind of took the workshop that we did live here in Israel and like a year or two ago. So there's perspective already of time to really see the transformation that it did for their business. So there are some great testimonials on the page that people can go through and see. And yeah, I'm really passionate about this because I know the difference that it made in my life. I want to make sure this happens and that other people can leverage this. I know that at some point, I don't know if it's 5-10 years, if this is at a point where it's kind of common knowledge, like everybody knows Photoshop, then maybe it's not as valuable. But today, where we are today at 2018, if you have this skill, you can make a killing.
Fantastic. Okay. I can feel your enthusiasm. I can feel your genuine desire to help people. And I love where you're going with your business since the last time you and I spoke. And it's you being able to scale this thing out. But I have a couple of technical questions here. When this thing airs, you guys will include the link to Ran's class down in the description below. You guys need to check that out and hit that up. Is it open enrollment or is it only open for periods of time?
No, it's open enrollment. Just the bonuses are going to be time limited. And maybe even then, I don't know, like if there'll be a webinar with a special, I don't know, but the bonuses are time limited. But the class will be open, open enrollment. It's not going to be closed.
Great. So as a friend of the channel, Ran and Flux and all that kind of stuff. So any kind of promotions or webinars, things, as he sends it to us, we'll include it in the description below. All right. Before I wrap up, I just want to let you guys know, if you like this video, if you like this kind of content, let us know. Hit that like button and hit subscribe while you're at it, and check out Ran's channel. It's called Flux, right? If you look up on YouTube, Flux, Flux, and I'm going to give them this screen here. Here we go. If you guys want to reach out to Ran, he's at Ran Segall. And that's RANSEGALL.com. And you can reach him out on Instagram and Twitter at the same name. This is brilliant that you have a very unique name because you have it everywhere, right?
Yeah. Instagram is probably the best place to reach out right now. People are like DMing, and it's awesome platform to engage and have awesome conversation.
Yeah. And I see a lot of personal photos and you're kind of telling your story. And I think it's kind of neat to be able to see that, right? Okay, is there anything else that we need to talk about before we head out?
Nah, I think we can call it a day. I hope this was helpful for everybody in your audience. And love chatting with you.
Yeah, thank you. All right, so until I see you here in Los Angeles, helping our team out and kind of whipping us into shape, thanks for coming on the show.
Love that, Chris. Bye, talk to you soon.
All right, bye-bye.